Come in, M.I. Paracon. Hello, M.I. Paracon. Oh, low battery. What the hell's happening here? That ruined that all this shit. Anyways, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you, wherever you are on the static planet. Literally static right there right now with the ghost box that petered out right in the thick of the action. That's how it goes. Oh my God, who am I here today? Yes, Michael John of Michael John's Paranormal Ghost Stories. That's my co-ghost host, my BFF, my longtime friend. We are twin brothers of different mothers. The man from High Spirits himself, Dale. High Spirits Quigley. Together, we are the voice of the paranormal, the voice for the paranormal, Windsor, Ontario's own, the Paranormal Voice. And what a show we have for you today. Author, adventure, international speaker, researcher of all things paranormal and then some. And I'll tell you what, this guy we're going to be talking to, I mean, we got a couple people around us that we've been really fortunate to be able to call friends, and he is no exception. Actually, family at this point, I'd say that. But I'll tell you what I'm getting at here. There's a couple guys that like to play pranks. There's a couple guys. I wouldn't leave my drink in a room if I had to leave for 5 minutes, because you never know what they're going to do. And this individual, that's a guy I wouldn't leave my camera alone with him, let alone my podcast equipment. But we'll get into that. Anyways, Dale, oh my God. Here, you just hot off of the Sage Paracon this past weekend. We're going to talk about that and how that was for you. We got a few things on it. We got guests every week here. We are now exclusively on YouTube. So if you're not on the YouTube subscriber list for the Paranormal Voice, please get out there, give us a subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell notification so you can keep track and keep up to date with all of our latest episodes, everything happening. Of course, blessed to be on. Hashtag blessed, thankful, grateful, humbled to be on KGRA Digital. That's every Saturday night at 1 a.m. That is a replay recording of our interviews that we do here, the interviews that we get to do at the conventions that we are really lucky to get out to when we get out to them. Speaking of, we're going to be talking about extensively about the MI Paracon, the WrestleMania of Paracons today with our guests. So Dale, before we get into that and all that, and then some, let's talk about the Sage Paracon. The floor is yours, brother.
Oh, I mean, what an amazing weekend. Once again, MJ Dixon, Michelle Darnell, and all of the FPRI team put together another spectacular weekend event right there at the Belgrove Plantation in King George, Virginia. One of the most amazing places, of course. It was the home to James Madison, one of the presidents of the United States. It was his house. So yeah, it's a lovely landscape, very active, but all around, I mean, everybody that's a part of the Belgrove Plantation is absolutely amazing. And once again, MJ Dixon came across with some amazing speakers. Of course, our good friend Jeff Belanger was there. Richard Estep was in the house talking, and then they had a new lady that I got a chance to sit down and talk with, Nikki Folsom. She's an author, investigator, explorer, researcher, a truly amazing woman. So I had a chance to talk with her briefly. Looking forward to getting her back on the air sometime down the road, because I'll tell you, it was an absolutely amazing. Of course, I was sitting down with Sean Porter, the owner of Ghost Stop, a very well-known company that's out there selling ghost hunting equipment. So he was there all weekend talking about ghost hunting equipment and stuff like that. Had some really cool gadgets on display. Like I said, it's an absolutely amazing. If you've not experienced Sage Paracon with MJ Dixon, it is on my you must experience list, because her events are so scaled down. It's more intimate. It's a weekend of course, all the speakers there, they speak one day and then they do a workshop on stuff the other day. So, like I said, it is a great, great weekend, and MJ throws in some fun events to throw it all in there. Of course, the Friday night kicks it all off. You have game night where it's kind of like a Jeopardy, and you have to answer all the questions that come up are all about the guests, and you have to excuse me, you have to guess on which speaker that they're talking about. So that's a Saturday night or a Friday night event. Then, of course, all day Saturday we have our speaking, and then Saturday night you get to do a ghost hunt right there at the Bell Grove Plantation, which is very, very active. A lot of exciting things. And then Sunday, once again, you get to go through speeches, and then that evening, MJ Dixon likes to put together like a murder mystery party, and then you have to go through all the rooms, look for the clues, and you have to solve it all, and then you have to be able to see who did it, kind of thing. This year here was really like I said, no exception. She puts on an amazing event. So stay tuned, folks. If you follow MJ Dixon on any of her social medias, wait for the post, wait for SageCon 2025. I'm sure it's going to be another amazing event. She really, really does it very well. So, like I said, it was a complete honor to be down there talking with some amazing people, met some new friends, caught up with some old friends, just like we do at the MI Paracon, where it's nothing like a family environment. So yeah, excited! I can't wait. Next month, coming up June 22nd, we're headed back down to Michigan, where we are going to actually do. We are speaking at the Chaos Con right there at Wixom, Michigan, with our good friend Keith Humbery. Puts on an amazing event, so check that out. Go to the website is eluding me right now, but just go on Facebook, check out type in Chaos Con, and you'll get all the information. Get your ticket, join us. It's going to be another amazing year this year, so come on down. That is June 22nd, right there in Wixom, Michigan. So that'll be our next stop, and I look forward to that.
Now, when you were at the Sage Paracon, I remember MJ, when we had a chance to have her on the show a couple weeks back, she was talking about how it's not a big event in the sense she limits tickets to only so many people. That way there, it's a lot more intimate. You get to hang out with a lot of these para-celebs. Like you're having dinner with them, you're doing investigations with them. You know what I mean? You're sitting around, you're playing that murder mystery with them. You got Jeff Belanger next to you. You're trying to figure out a murder mystery. How awesome is that? I mean, and that's not one day. That's not an hour. That's like 3 days. That's well worth the price of admission just to get to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So anybody gets a chance to do that. Yes, I hope to get there next year. It's been eluding me. I have not had a chance to go, unfortunately, for now. But never say never. It's going to happen. Damn it.
Absolutely.
But I definitely sounds like a great time for anybody that gets a chance. And up the road, you realized you had a milestone moment for yourself. And what did you get to see?
Yeah, actually, this year here, I planned out the trip a little bit better. So this time, I actually got the opportunity of something I've always dreamed about doing, was going into Washington, D.C., and actually standing as close to the White House as I can possibly get. And I'll tell you, the whole experience. I mean, it was Memorial Day weekend in the States this past weekend. So I think it was like the perfect time to experience what I experienced. But I'll tell you, it's just being to our own nation's capital up in Ottawa at the Parliament buildings and all that. I mean, to see that and to see how being in Washington D.C. is so different. And I mean, I have never seen so many police officers as I had this past weekend. And it was amazing. I had so much fun. I got to experience the White House, see the Washington Monument, got to actually stand right in front of the J. Edgar Hoover building, better known as the FBI headquarters. So
Wow.
it was absolutely amazing to see all this. You read about it, you see it on TV, but to experience it. And then, of course, I had to top it off with something that I've always felt very drawn to and very close to. Of course, the people that give us our freedom, the military, and everybody who fights for our freedom in our country. And I got to visit the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, which in my eyes was like the cherry on top of that whole visit, was being able to see this with my own eyes. Because like I said, it's something you read about, you hear about, you see it on TV, but to be there in person and to see it and everything that goes down, I'll tell you, it was an amazing, memorable experience. I can't wait to get back to Virginia. I can't wait to get back to DC and experience it some more. So,
talk about living the dream. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Good on you, man. I'm so happy for you. You got to do that. Speaking of living the dream, let's talk about our guest. This guy's lived the paranormal dream for a long, long time. Since he was a kid, he's the founding member of the Upper Peninsula Paranormal Research Society, co-host, another co-host in our midst, folks, Creaking Door Paranormal Radio, with the one and only Tim Ellis, another co-founder of the MI Paracon. Co-founder of the MI Paracon Paranormal Convention. This gentleman is from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, where the MI Paracon is from. See the theme here. His wife, Jennifer, his son, Caden, owns and operates several tourism-related businesses. The MI Paracon, of course, like we said earlier, the WrestleMania of Paracons. I want to welcome in right now, ladies and gentlemen, researcher of all things strange, international speaker, adventurer, author of his latest book, Paranormal Justice. Please welcome to our show, Brad Blair.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Brad, how's it going, buddy?
Well, it's been a long day, but time to kick back with a nice cold beverage, hang out with you guys for an hour, and see where things go.
Well, if that doesn't give you a drinking problem, nothing will hanging out with us.
Well, I don't need the encouragement, but,
it is so good to see you. Got the chance to hang out with you up at Potographs this year. That was amazing. Like I said, always an amazing event to get to hang out there.
That is. It's such a well-run, and for events, you don't see a lot of events in the paranormal that are strictly out there for philanthropies. And what Tim Miley does with Potographs, that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. And I know Tim Ellis as well. We spoke at it this year, but all of the funds that he raises from all of the events go into regional animal shelters, all no-kill shelters. And Tim's been doing this for years and years now. And he's such an amazing guy. And if you have not been to a Potographs event, I can't stress enough how great they are and just how well ran, the people that come out to speak, the people that attend. And I guess the bottom line is where the money is going to. I want to say that Tim's put over $100,000 into various animal shelters.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that. We had Tim on a little bit before the Potographs happened this year, and I believe that is a correct number. We're a little over the $100,000 mark at this point. And yeah, he's done so many great things, and not unlike yourself. Near and dear to my heart. I've been really fortunate. Excuse me. Growing up, I've had dogs off and on my whole life, from like single digit age to, in the last few years. Suddenly I've graduated since my divorce and all that. I've graduated to cats, but that's a whole other story.
Yes.
But yeah, animals, they get us, man. For me, it's more than humans. I mean, I'll take an animal over a human any day. Just, right? Yeah, you understand, of course. So I love what Tim Miley's doing there. He's got his lovely lady friend there now, Miss Lauren, who's helped him to take it by the reins even more. He was ready to tap out on it.
He was.
But she really got him focused again. And I love they're a team, man, and they're really doing bigger and better things than he was, if that's possible.
Yeah, no, great event, great people. And if it comes to your area, if it doesn't, hop on the road trip. The Potographs events are always great times, and the people are so friendly at them. The people that run it, the people that show up. It's one of our favorites to do every year. Yeah, the vibe's second to none for sure. We're going to be there next year. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be cutting my teeth there for the first time there. It'll be my debut, if you will. I'm a little nervous, debuts, but it's going to be fun. I'm so looking forward to it. Again, what a great cause. Potographs for pooches. Hell yeah, all day long. Sure. Anytime. Yeah. I will do that event anytime he asks.
Oh yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's the one thing about an event like that. And like I said, it's. I find that with a lot of people in this field, the paranormal field that we're in. I mean, we all love Tim to death. So yeah, when he knocks on your door or sends you that message, say, "Hey, would you?" Before you even finish the rest of the sentence, you're going, "Yes, I would."
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so Brad, I mean, you're getting into your busy season. Your tourist season's kicking up.
Yep.
You've got a brand new book on the shelves that was just released not too long ago.
Yes.
And of course, I know it seems like a far time away, but it really is not that far away. The MI Paracon is coming back around.
Yeah, August 22nd through 24th this year. So, and it's one of those things. We never stop working on it. The Yoopers team, myself, we're 24/7, 300. It's every day. People ask all the time, how long does it take to put this event together? Are you 6-8 months on it? And realistically, we're about 14 months. For every event, we're a couple months into the planning for the following year before the current year's event even happens. So it really is a nonstop job putting this event on.
And it's
Oh, sorry, Michael. But I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, but you guys, and I've said this to you guys every time. I mean, I've been attending the MI Paracon since 2014. So actually, this year will be my 10-year anniversary. Wow, this is pretty cool.
Should have been the 15th year. That little thing called COVID popped up, so we had to postpone once. So, 14th annual, but we've been going strong for 15 years now. So it's kind of scary.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys put on an amazing event yourself, and I mean, every year I always walk away from this year, and I always go, "How are they going to top themselves?" And you know what? You guys always top yourselves with a Class A event. I stopped calling it an event. It's a family reunion each and every year.
It's interesting looking back, I guess, from the perspective nowadays, because there's so many events out there now. And back when Tim and I started this, we were traveling around to the odd events here and there, and it wasn't as, I guess, normalized, you could say, as it is today. So we were literally flying back from an event in Florida, and we had, a great time. It was a full weekend event, and it was right kind of at the start of the whole paranormal television craze. And Ghost Hunters was out. I think Ghost Adventures was just starting to come onto the scene. And Tim and I were flying back and kind of looked at each other and started talking and said, "Hey, you think we could put on something like this up in Sault Ste. Marie? And you're not, Sault Ste. Marie's not a place you pass by. You have to be going here. This is on the Canadian border in northern Michigan. If you've never been here and don't know where it's at, we're up in the Upper Peninsula, way over here." And so it was one of those things that, if we do it big enough, if we do it well enough, maybe we can draw enough people to make it worthwhile. And maybe if it goes over great, we can do a second year. Back then, most events did not go past 2, maybe 3 years. So we put everything into it. We really wanted to book Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson. They were kind of the top of the chain at the time.
Right.
And they were booked. By the time we got the go-ahead and got things set with Kuwaitan, they were already booked up that week. The promoter we were working with said, "Well, I tell you what, I can't get you those guys, but there's this other show that's really taken off now called Ghost Adventures. And I can get you the 3 head guys from that instead." And they're starting to get a following. So for our first event, we had Nick, Zach, and Aaron headline that year. And lo and behold, that show really hit. I want to say their second season might have been out right before the event happened. And they were really taking off. So we ended up having an amazing year, way above what we thought it was going to be. And right away we got asked by the casino powers that be if we would consider putting together a show for the following year. And we said, well, we had actually kind of had a plan in the background for a second year. We had some people we wanted to bring in the first year, but we had a tight budget. We didn't really know how to work it out. So we kind of split things off, and there were certain people that we said, yeah, we've got an idea for year 2 already. And, we kind of thought that'd be it. We'd get a second year in, that everything would be good. And, depending how things went, maybe they'd be interested in having us back again at Coaden, and maybe not. So, yeah, and say every year's kind of been that way since. A number of years back, we ended up teaming up with the Convention Visitors Bureau and expanded on the event. And here we are, say 14, should have been 15 years in, but it is 15 years in, but it should have been 15 events in. But yeah, the 14th coming up the end of August. You can get all the info at miparacon.com. Another huge lineup. We say it goes 3 days. Really, it's kind of crept to 4 days, where we do a pregame party, we call it, on Wednesday night prior to. You don't have to have a ticket, just come out, have some beers. We have some fun interviews in the back bar at Coaden Casino, and just maybe some games. Just everybody's chance to get into town, roll in, relax, kick back, and catch up. And a lot of the time when the weekend gets rolling on Thursday and presenters are going, workshops are going, the ghost hunts, people like Tim and I, Steve LaPlaunt, the rest of the Yoopers team, we don't really have a lot of time to hang out, visit, and catch up with people. So we enjoy doing it that night and at the start of it, because we never know when we're actually going to get to sit down following that.
Right. Yeah. You guys don't stop, man. I know it's like you're like two ships passing in the night. If we see you on the floor, it's like, hey, how are you, buddy? God,
yeah,
like that. Yeah, it's that fast, literally,
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes putting on a show like this, and people don't really appreciate it until you get into the seats that Tim and I are in, and you're putting out fires backstage, and you're dealing with so and so over here, and this issue's coming up over here, and it's literally nonstop for 3 days: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. By the time Sunday comes around, and getting to the age that I appreciate sleep, and that's a weekend I get very little of it.
Right.
So by the time Sunday rolls around, usually we have a few people that stick around town for an extra night. Occasionally we'll go to Mackinac Island, do the tourist thing with some of the celebrities left. Once in a while, my wife will cook a big dinner, and we'll just have people over and hang out. And either or works, but God, I look forward to getting back in my bed after that weekend.
I believe that.
Sleeping for about 3 days straight.
I believe that. And to create something like this, the pinnacle, if you will, for so many of these events, you guys are certainly setting the standard. You've raised the bar high for anybody else to follow in your footsteps or even attempt this. But I'll tell you what, you go back since childhood. This is something you've been into, the macabre, you've been into the bizarre, you've been into all of it. Well,
you look at Tim and I and Steve LaPlaunt, Lance Brown, our head tech guy. We go back to the first grade 1.
I love it.
We're literally going back to the 70s here, dating myself, I guess. But we grew up, we became friends in the first grade, and we were kind of the kids that got together on the playground and told ghost stories. And there's this old house, and you can hear a baby crying in the basement, and your kids, you're freaking each other out, you're telling each other these are all true stories. And we never lost that love of the ghost story, of frightening each other. And when we got into high school, we'd be at slumber parties and telling ghost stories, and half the people wanted to hang out with us, and the other half wanted to stay right the hell away from us and have nothing to do with these strange guys that are breaking out the Ouija board and going out on weekends to abandoned houses and old cemeteries and doing these mini seances and trying to scare things up. And it got to be kind of a side. We were our own side little cult group in high school where some of the popular kids and jocks and all, they didn't want to talk a lot about it at school, but coming up on the weekends, we called it spooking. Spooking is a bunch of us jump in a car, we drive out to an abandoned home, we drive out to an abandoned graveyard, we go to a house that's supposedly haunted, and we tried to communicate. It was our earliest incursion into paranormal investigating, if you will. Mm-hmm. And you would get some of these people on the side that would say, hey, are you guys going spooking this weekend? Can we come along? It's kind of a private thing, but well, the next thing you know, you've got 3 carloads of guys heading out to a cemetery. And so we learned to start keeping it kind of quiet. But it was, we never outgrew that. And we went our separate ways for college. And somehow, by the grace of God, we all ended up back in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And we kind of started back into it, but we realized we were at that age that if we're in an old house out in the country and the law drives by, we're probably going to jail. It's not the slap on the hand that high school kids are going to get. And, okay, you dumb shit, go home now. So we put together the Upper Peninsula Paranormal Research Society back in the late 90s. And I think we got our official non-profit status from the state of Michigan in 2000, I believe it was. So we got to the point we realized we needed to go to an official level. And this was pre-reality television days, which, thinking back then, younger people in the field especially would probably find it hard to believe. But at the time we found our group, I think the state of Michigan had 4 other paranormal teams at the time. Wow. Where now there's 4 in every town. So it was not easy to get a group up and going. I mean, it was on our side of things. We just said, hey, we've got this equipment, and if anybody's house is haunted, give us a call. But we got maybe 2 or 3 cases a year at that point in time.
Okay.
And it was generally people who were actually frightened or had real concerns. And we would go in and do the investigations, and then all of a sudden a show called Ghost Hunters came around. Yeah. That was 20 years ago now, and the field just blew up.
No, when you think about doing ghost hunting in the 70s, I mean, or early 80s, it's a lot different than it is now because, like you said, Michigan had 4 teams when you guys came around.
Yeah.
And now it's like you said, like
everywhere.
They're everywhere. Like every little town, every little city, everybody has a ghost hunting team somewhere doing something. So
and I'm sure you guys can remember going back prior to the reality TV days, and when we were all in high school age, you'd wait for October because that was the only time you would see anything on TV regarding ghosts and hauntings, cryptids, UFOs. They saved it all for that Halloween season.
Right.
And I can remember setting up the VCR because I had to be at school, but Ed and Lorraine Warren were going to be on the Jenny Jones show, or you had all of these talk shows that were bringing on Hans Holzer and Lloyd Auerbach and all of these people in the field that outside of that month, they paid 0 attention to. You weren't going to see them on anything. But as soon as October rolled around, and the later it got into October, that's when we got our fix. We didn't have the 24/7 streaming. We didn't have, show after show after show being pumped out there on the paranormal. So, it was a different time to grow up. And I look at it now, and you kids take for granted you can get your ghosts anytime. We had to wait. We had 1 out of 12 months out of the year that we got our paranormal shows, that we got those stories. But that's where us as kids, Tim and I and Steve especially, we'd hop on our bikes or get in the cars. We'd be at the library all the time. And from a young age, checking out books on anything from cryptids to strange mysteries, of course, ghosts and hauntings, UFOs. I mean, you name it. If it was weird, we'd each checked it out 3 or 4 times and read it over and over and over. And it's a different world nowadays.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Speaking of your book, Great Lakes Monsters and Mysteries, you collaborated with Tim Ellis.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word cryptid. You got me triggered. Let's talk about Dogman, because I know where you're from. There's 1 or 2 of them around there for sure. What are your experiences, if you had any, with Dogman, please?
I have never had a firsthand experience with Dogman. I will say this. I spent a lot of time, pardon me while I grab one more beverage. I spent a lot of time in the woods growing up in northern Michigan in the UP. My dad was a big avid hunter, and he used to take me out often. And if I knew, Bigfoot didn't really scare me. Bigfoot was always fascinating. It was this huge teddy bear walking around in the woods. That's how I looked at it growing up.
Wow. Okay.
Dogman, that scares the shit out of me. You know, if I thought that was in the woods, I don't think he would have got me out there. You know, really, I mean, this is this freaking werewolf-looking thing that's roaming the woods of Michigan and all throughout North America. You know, the more we read into it, and Linda Godfrey was the authority on Dogman sightings, and you know, such a great lady, and I was honored enough to call her a friend. And talking to her, you know, some of these bizarre encounters that she was getting sent into her by, you know, not just firsthand accounts, but people in law enforcement, people in the media, that, you know, these things were all popping up. And I never realized how, I don't think anybody realized how widespread this was until Linda put it in their faces and wrote book after book on this. Yeah. These strange bipedal creatures with, you know, kind of I guess they say more of a large, you know, wolf looking, but not quite. You know, there's just something off about it.
Yeah.
There have been, I know, multiple Dogman sightings more towards the western UP area than where we're at right here. I'm not sure why. I can tell you the entire Upper Peninsula is ripe for any type of cryptid. You know, you take Bigfoot, Dogman, you've got miles and miles of wilderness that nobody steps foot in. You've got God knows how many lakes, small lakes with no developments, no houses around them. I mean, you take all of that area and you look at the food sources.
Yes.
If it's a carnivore, you've got deer, you've got raccoons, squirrel, whatever, you know, the whole size range goes up and down. So I've had this conversation several times actually recently with people about how could a Bigfoot live in the UP? Well, it'd be perfect. You know, it's that climate that people are afraid to, I guess, flock here in the masses outside of the tourist season. You know, it gets so cold in the winter, we get so much snow, and it's just very desolate in those off months. So you look at that, you don't have people relocating here and building new cities. There's a little bit of urban sprawl in some areas, but you've got all of this untouched wilderness that, to me, you know, a huge creature like this could easily exist here.
In that book, again, let's go back to the book there. I'm going to say it again, Great Lakes Monsters and Mysteries. When we're talking about Dogman, for example, or even Bigfoot, I mean, you must outline, okay, if you do happen to go out into the forest in the area because you're looking, what were the signs be? Let's say let's pinpoint Dogman especially. Again, my guilty pleasure. What would you look for to know he was around other than footprints? I mean, if you're lucky to find that, oh my God, that's the Holy Grail. But what else is there?
Well, you would see the creature and you would shit yourself. But it's one of those things, if you're not having the firsthand account, if you're not seeing it one-on-one, maybe you find some strange scat that you can evaluate, but trying to figure out what that came from, I'm not going to do a scratch and sniff test myself. But things like that, things like fur, you say that it's like with Bigfoot, the footprints. You know, if you see a huge wolf print, and we do have big wolves here in the UP too, so you know, to discern that it's kind of difficult. But it really comes down to the first-hand pictures that people have gotten, the run-ins. There have been people that have taken polygraph tests that claim to have seen families of these things.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's out there. It's as far as physical proof, though. See, with Bigfoot, I think when they find hair samples that they send in, and I've read quite extensively on some of the scientific aspects of Bigfoot and Sasquatch, you've got these hair samples that can't be linked back to any other creatures. So with Dogman, I don't, you know, how close a hair from Dogman would be to a regular gray wolf or to a large canine, you might not even know from bringing in a hair sample or from a scat sample, something along that lines. So I really don't know with Dogman if there's any other way outside of a corpse that we'd be able to prove its existence.
Dogman, Bigfoot, interdimensional or not?
That's the question, isn't it? I I'm very much on the fence on both. It's kind of like the old X-Files tagline, I want to believe.
Yes.
I need to see it. I need to experience something. I've experienced more with Bigfoot, I guess, from having seen footprints and having been called out, having pictures sent of some strange large creature in a forest. Dogman, I have not had the opportunity yet to do anything in the way of firsthand research on. So that's still mythical, I think, in my book. But a lot of people have these run-ins. So interdimensional is hard to say for me, to put it that succinct, that this could be something popping in and out.
Yeah.
My thought on that is, yeah, I don't want to say it's not possible because nobody knows. Who knows if it is or not? It seems to me that there would be a little bit more if it was something along that lines. You don't hear as much about like a Bigfoot trail when people have found trails of footprints. You really don't hear of them just stopping abruptly and ending. You know, usually they go off and it goes into a creek or into some hard woodland that all of a sudden they kind of dissipate. You don't really see much anymore of them, but you don't just see these big tracks in the snow that all of a sudden are gone. To me, that would say interdimensional or something extraterrestrial is dropping them off and picking them up, as a lot of people conjecture. A lot of conjecture holds that maybe they're linked to these extraterrestrial and UFO sightings. And but what are UFOs then? You know, you go to, are they interdimensional? So maybe in that aspect, there could be something there. We don't know. That's why we keep looking. That's why we keep doing this research and putting these books out there with our findings and going on and on into the unknown.
So with you and Tim, I mean, you guys released 2 books as we're talking about. Now, how did the whole idea to begin say, hey, was there something you thought was missing and stories about your area?
So we were fortunate enough back, oh God, what year did we put out Yoopernatural Haunts, which was a collaboration between myself, Tim Ellis, and Steve LaPlaunt. We were kind of hanging out one day and our phones dinged, and it was Rosemary Ellen Guiley, the late great, author of 70 plus books, owner of Visionary Living Publishing, just an amazing woman. And Rosemary said, hey guys, I wonder if you ever thought about putting some of your case files down in writing. She said, I would love to publish something. She said, you guys have been at this so long. You predate the TV boom, and your area is so unique where you live that I think there'd be a lot of interest in this. And I said, God, Rosemary, I said, isn't that too regional? She said, no. She said, I'd really like to highlight your cases in the Upper Peninsula because it's such a fascinating place, which I guess living here, we don't think of it that way, but talking to a lot of people on the outside, they do. So we said, yeah, actually, Tim and I had talked about writing a book, but Tim and I talk about doing a lot of things and they get backtracked. And right now, Tim and I are in the process of starting a walking tour company, and that is going to start up later in June. But that's, again, something we've been working on for a number of years, and we're finally pulling the trigger and getting that going. We said, yeah, we actually had the idea for Great Lakes Monsters and Mysteries. It goes back to a presentation that we'd been giving at libraries and different events. And she said, I love that idea too. But she said, I'd really like to get something out for the 10th anniversary of Michigan Paranormal of your team and your cases and you guys, your background. So we were fortunate enough to have Rosemary Ellen Guiley coach us on writing and walk us through the process, not knowing while we were going through this that she was in a battle with cancer. And we were talking to Rosemary at least twice a week during the whole process of this. And she never let on, and we got into it a few times. If you knew Rosemary at all, very stubborn, very passionate woman. Yeah, I mean, you did not argue with her, especially if you were being published by her. And it was, I'm telling you, Brad, this is the way this goes, and But it was such an amazing experience. And if I look back on my saved emails, so the farthest ones back, they are between Rosemary and myself while writing this book. So this is going back probably 5 or 6 years now, 6 years, I guess, ish. So at the same time we were doing it, she'd encouraged us to look ahead to what would be Great Lakes Monsters and Mysteries, which was, as I said, off of a presentation Tim and I had been given. And so we put that together. She had signed us. We had a second book contract set before Yoopernatural ever came out. Wow. So that was kind of the start. Tim and I had been talking about doing that in book form. We didn't really know where to start, and we really needed, as with most things, a kick in the ass to get us motivated enough to get it underway and get the project going.
Wow, and I mean, to be led by such an amazing lady, like I said, well respected in the paranormal field.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, yeah, she's greatly missed, that's for sure. I mean, the wealth of knowledge that she has.
Everything. She wrote encyclopedias on demonology, books on dreaming, books on UFOs, real vampires, and you name it, anything strange and unusual, Rosemary was the queen of.
Yes, no, for sure. And that brings us to your brand new book.
Yeah.
Paranormal Justice. I mean, wow. I mean, when I saw this coming out, I was like, wow, that is absolutely amazing. And congratulations, by the way. I
Thank
mean,
you.
like you said, it's no small feat, but here you are. You took on another project to write about paranormal justice. Can you talk a little bit about the book, the inspiration behind this one?
It was a pet project, and it's really dates back, God, 30 years. I can remember, and I talk a little bit about it, I think, in the intro, sitting in my parents' living room and the 6 o'clock evening news being on, and hearing this story. It's on in the background, and I hear a story about the Supreme Court of the state of New York declaring a house legally haunted. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't Halloween. Why are they talking about ghosts on TV? This is 1991. And it turned out that this case, Stambovsky versus Ackley, which was a famous real estate case involving the paranormal, had made its way all the way up to the Supreme Court of the state of New York, and the court ruled the house to be haunted. Not, there's a little more to it. It's not quite cut and dried like that. Right. But I thought, wow, how can the court system take something like a haunting, something that they don't consider to be real, in mainstream, especially, you're going back a few decades, and put this in front of justices and have them come back and say, yes, this is legally haunted. So I started kind of collecting stories here and there. I started looking into it a little more, and this was early days of the internet, I suppose. I was not on it at the time. It was the start of the dial-up, and I started trying to pull a few stories here and there that I could find at the library, and just keeping up on periodicals over the years. And I had a handful of those, and then we had that fun period called COVID hit. And I'm stuck at home a lot more than normal. And I thought, God, this might be the time to see if there's enough to this to put into book form. And I really didn't know if I was going to start writing on this and have to shelve the whole thing, if I wouldn't be able to find enough info. I hit a lot of dead ends. What I found researching the book is media loves the sensationalism of a case like this coming out. So there were a good number of cases where, so-and-so is suing their landlord because their apartment's haunted, this and this, we have something strange that ended up in front of the judge, and, just little things that they would blast us out there in headlines, but then they'd never follow up, and you couldn't find a final decision on a case. So I ended up logging on and spending a little bit of money and getting some access to different court records. So there was a lot of research went into this book, and I wanted to kind of run the whole paranormal gamut with it. So we hit everything going back as far as the witch trials, which, of course, most of that was more church related, but the church controlled the courts back then. Let's face it. So back through that, through possession, demonic possession, that's come up time and time again in courts. I didn't realize how often. Obviously, ghosts and hauntings popping in here and there, cryptids, Bigfoot protection that's gotten passed by legislators in different states, different regions. I tried to wash a little bit of everything, as much as I could, into it. So, and I was at the end of it, I said I didn't know if I'd have enough information to fill an entire book.
Yep.
And by the time I got to the end, I had to edit out so many different stories because they were repetitive. Not, it was like, God, this is kind of overkill. There's too much of this type of haunted house story in here, or there's more of this on demonic possession and murder cases. So I ended up paring it back to a point, and it still ended up being around a 200-page book, and I was pretty happy when I finally hit that publish key to get it done just this spring, because I knew once my summer season starts, I don't have a lot of time to sit and write and do extracurricular projects. So it was either bust my ass, get everything done in time for a spring release, or it was going to sit for another summer until next winter. So we got her done. I got it out, and I'm very happy with the end product. Hopefully other people are too. Like I said, I tried to run as much of the paranormal field into this as far as differing occurrences as I could. The one area I didn't touch on, it got brought up to me a couple weeks ago too, is the UFO or UAP field. I started getting into a couple of cases. Most of that keeps going back and back to the military and to government cover-ups. And I thought, it's not so much a court aspect as it is military and governmental. So I ended up avoiding that pretty much altogether for the most part. That could be another book for another time.
What the heck is Bigfoot protection?
You have different areas, not just in the United States, but in Asia as well, that if you were to stumble on a Bigfoot and shoot it or try to kill it, try to maim it, you could go to jail and face large fines. Specifically, the Pacific Northwest of the USA, Oregon, Washington, the prime Bigfoot country, I guess you could say. They have heavier populations, they believe, of Sasquatch. There are different areas that they have passed, and a lot of this is county by county, but you have had your legal representatives pass laws to outlaw in any way harming a Sasquatch.
No kidding.
Now you go the opposite direction. If you go down to Texas, one of their heads of conservation was once asked, what if somebody shot a Bigfoot? Would that be illegal? He said, well, it's an unknown creature. It is not protected under any type of legal actions down there. It's not human. It's not considered an endangered species. Therefore, yeah, go ahead and shoot it. Kill away, get it some. So, that's you've got those extremes, but there are places in Asia where they have full wildlife preserves set aside because they believe these creatures live in certain areas. So they have outlawed, hunting, and to a point, there are areas that people aren't even allowed to go because they feel so strongly that there are families of Yeti, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, depending on the region you're in, that they have roped off, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just in an effort to protect these creatures that we don't even know 100% for certain exist.
Or what the heck they are.
Yeah.
To that.
There are different, and I do cover some in paranormal justice. There are different stipulations that if we found out beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are Sasquatch there, you could put in for an emergency endangered species protection. And it would circumvent some things. They would have X amount of days to introduce it for endangered species status, but in the meantime, you wouldn't be able to go out and, take the guys out with your shotguns, go hunt Bigfoot. That would be off the table for the time being. I spoke to a gentleman, Rich Meyer, who runs the Upper Peninsula Bigfoot Research organization, and I interviewed him in the book, and it was interesting. It was eye-opening. I said, Rich, what aspects do you think finding a Sasquatch, beyond a shadow of a doubt, what effect would that have on a local economy? And he said, it'd be massive. He said, if you stumbled on, he said, you look at the protection that certain owls and different forms of wildlife, if you find them in a certain region, you can't develop, they set aside land, they might take your land. He said, now look at if you find a Sasquatch, something like this, in an area, say in the Upper Peninsula where logging's big. Now all of a sudden you could be shutting down the logging industry, the paper industry, oil suppliers that provide services, fuel for all of these. He said there's such a ripple effect that you wouldn't even realize it until all of a sudden you have these regulations stipulating, this is an endangered species habitat and you are going to have to step aside. So it was kind of fascinating. I never looked at it in that aspect before, but yeah, I mean, the economic side of things, you could really punch a hole in somebody's forecast if all of a sudden you find out you've got an 8-foot primate living in your backyard and now that's their habitat. So it was, interesting. I tried to get as much in the way of firsthand information writing this as I could. I interviewed Rich on that. I interviewed Bob Murch, the head of the Talking Board Historical Society, for the Ouija chapter, which was a lot of fun to write. Probably my favorite. As many people as I could reach out to, and fortunate enough through Paracon and through our years of research in the field to have made a lot of friends that have had firsthand accounts or have different areas of expertise that I reached out to and got some interviews in for it. So yeah, it was a fun project. I'm glad it's done, set, and out there for sale now. So you say it took a few years on this one. So nice to have that little summer break. And then Tim and I have another book idea we're kicking around right now. That might be next winter's project. So we'll be talking about that next year at this time.
Absolutely.
I look forward to that for sure.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, but so for those that would like to purchase this book and don't want to wait till the MI Paracon, which we heavily suggest you do so that you can be at the event with us.
Absolutely.
Where can they purchase this book as well as your other 2 books that are out on the market?
All 3 are up on Amazon. So, naturally the go-to Kindle version and paperback are both available on Amazon right now. This also forced me to set up an author's page. So go give it a like. You can keep up with the other things we have coming up and going on. The first 2 books we have on Yoopernatural.com. If you would like a signed copy, feel free to go there and order it up and we'll get it shipped out to you. Haven't gotten this book listed there yet. And honestly, right now, it's probably going to be later in summer before I do. Just trying to work things out right now with, juggling the real job and the side things and starting up. As I mentioned, Tim and I are doing a tour company starting next month.
That's amazing.
Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, a lot of people don't realize is the oldest city in Michigan. It was founded in 1668. And and if you go back prior to that, I say oldest by European standards. Native American tribes lived here for thousands of years prior to. So there's a lot of history here and a lot of unknown history, a lot of strange stories. And of course, with our years and years of investigations and call outs for different cases, we've assembled these over the years and we thought, man, this would be great to put into a walking tour, combine the history, combine some of our cases, combine some of the legends and lore of the native people that were here first, and put all of this into the tourist district. So as I said, this has been also going on in the background for some time, and we are getting ready to launch next month, and that also will be, tickets will be available at Yoopernatural Haunts.com for that as well. should be up with our first tour dates next week, hopefully. Our plan right now is to run every Thursday through Sunday through the summer. We're hoping next year we'll get it up to a 6-day-a-week tour, but we're cutting our teeth right now.
Sure.
We're fortunate enough to have a good friend, Todd Clements, who runs the Mackinac Island Haunts of Mackinac tours. We've been picking his brain and, getting some ideas from Todd and just, wrapping things up to the point that we don't want to go out and do it half-assed, because we all know people that have, and you get one chance to make that first impression. So we want to make sure when we launch this, it's a quality event and people are getting their money's worth.
Absolutely. I mean, and what better group of people to do it than you guys? Because I mean, you're synonymous. Can't even speak anymore. Synonymous with the Upper Peninsula area, because of course your amazing event. Like I said, you guys there. I would never think anybody else could walk up there and do what you guys do. Not with the history and your connection with the town of itself. So, like I said, congratulations to you guys.
Thank you. No, we've been fortunate that growing up here, and Tim and I are both local business people, and we probably, I'm sure we get laughed at a lot in the background, but we probably get taken a lot more seriously than the average group might, just because of our interaction in the community. And we've been fortunate enough to have really kind of kept on good terms with most people around here and interact with a lot of business people. Tim owns a couple radio stations and is a DJ, and I'm in the tourist business, which is rife in this area. So no, it's kind of, we're still the creepy kids, in our 50s. We are the creepy kids. We're the creepy old men now. We're getting so, yeah, no, we don't hide it. People know who we are. We don't don't tell anybody we're coming in to do this. I know people that have had to do that from different professional angles through the years. We've been fortunate enough, being, I guess, both self-employed and just loving what we do, that we've never tried to hide it, never kept it in the background. It's always, we've been the ones that show up, and you're going to hear a ghost story, or you're going to hear about that UFO that some lady down in Dafter, Michigan saw last week. And what do you think it was? We hold this fascination, and I hope we always do. My mother hates it. She to this day will still ask from time to time, when are you going to get over that ghost stuff? When are you going to get over that spooky stuff? I'm 50 now, Mom. I don't really see it happening anytime soon. So.
No, it's right there. And thank God for that, because like I said, I since day one I met you guys, I mean, I have not met too many people who are passionate about the paranormal as you guys are, and you guys are living the dreams. And I mean, you guys have really inspired other people to do either events or just to pursue their dreams into the paranormal, because we see you guys doing it. We love it. You guys were the first ones to actually give us our doorway into the paranormal, and we always will be appreciative to you guys for that. And like I said, we always look forward to being up in Sault Ste. Marie, because it is one of the best, well-run events out there. And I mean, there is a lot of them, but you guys seem to have the best talent come in, the best speakers, the best vendors. And I mean, you guys jam-pack that casino. Like, I remember 2014, it was one little vendor's room, and now you guys have taken over an entire casino.
Yeah, and it's and you just said it right there too, Dale. It was one vendor room, it was one small room, it was a day and a half, when we started it. And I think too many people try and jump in both feet and try and go full bore right off the bat. Yeah. And I've gotten to the point that I've talked to a lot of people starting up events. In fact, I'm working on a second one right now with Jesse Line Cooler. It's going to be the Missouri Paracon coming your way in end of February next year. And Jesse's family owns the marvelously haunted Belvoir Winery outside of Kansas City, Missouri.
Wow.
And it's been on numerous shows and written about. And Jesse and I have gotten to be pretty good friends. And he reached out and he said, "What would you think about teaming up to do a Paracon here?" And I said, "God, that's the last thing I need. But I'll work with you for a couple of years on that, get it going." And you need to start realistically when you do these events. Don't go in thinking you're going to have a 3-day event, with a $200,000 budget year one. It doesn't work that way. Start small, figure out what your crowd's going to be. We had no idea, especially being up here in northern Michigan, what we would draw. But baby steps. Take that bigger jump the next year and keep going. Don't try and go all in year one. I've seen a handful of people do it. There have been a couple that have reached out and supposedly asking for advice, but they wanted validation, not advice. And it was, I can tell you how we started, and I can tell you how I think you should start. It doesn't mean I'm 100% right, but I've got a little bit of experience in the game. And I've seen people go bankrupt year one trying to throw events out there that they did not have the experience to run, and they put a little bit too much out there for, like I say, a first year is really going to be your gauge. After that, you get an idea of where you should go and what your fan base wants you to do with it. Right. Different regions will have different people showing up, and if you do it right, they'll come back. If you screw it off year one, you're never going to get these people again. So, know your limitations to a point, I guess, if you're trying to jump into this and build on that.
Well, and that is amazing advice. And like I said, you and Tim and all the Yoopers team that's been putting this on for this many years, you guys have built an amazing event. Like I said, one of the most established event and one of the most well-run events. And that's why me and Michael John call it the WrestleMania of Paracons, because I really don't see anybody else to be able to do that besides you guys. So real quick, Brad, we want to give you the opportunity to promote everything, what you're doing, what's coming up with you, how people can find out more information about everything about the MI Paracon, your books, and what you got going on.
Yoopernatural Haunts.com has, like I said, the first 2 books. The new one, I just happen to have a copy right here, Paranormal Justice. You can pick that bear up on Amazon on Kindle and paperback. Michigan Paracon, you can see the current lineup. We are about ready to announce the last handful of names. I believe next week we'll start on that. miparacon.com has all the ticket information, all of the side events, the galleries, the ghost hunts, the workshops. All of that stuff is available right now at miparacon.com. The walking tours will be through Yoopernatural Again, that's coming next month, and hopefully next week we will have that laid out. That's about what I can think of right now that I have going on. Like I said, I got this little thing called a job on the side, especially in the summertime. So things get a little bit convoluted from time to time. But yeah, I mean, Michigan Paracon's the next big thing coming up for us. And then, of course, kicking into the fall season, we'll be updating things as far as different presentations we'll be doing, events we'll be attending. Follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter. I keep up the most, so just look me up and keep an eye, and I'll post anything, everything, and more than you want to know on there from time to time.
Brad, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us here at the TPV Nation. We love you guys. We can't wait till August. We can't wait to get up there and have a drink and cheers. Once again, enjoying the rest of the Paranormal family, because, like I said, it is absolutely an amazing event. If you've not experienced the MI Paracon, you are missing out on something that is. You go as a spectator, you leave with a whole bunch of family members, and that's exactly what it is. It is truly an amazing event, and you get to hang out with some amazing people that are there.
And thank you guys for continuing to support us over the years. Honestly, it really means a lot to have people coming back in, and you guys coming in, setting up shop, and talking to all of our peoples that come through, and the celebrities and the fans and everything. And it really helps get the word out there, and we appreciate that.
No, it's a hell of a vibe. It's a paranormal vibe. Everybody that comes in there, we get it. You know what I mean? And nothing better than talking ghost stories, just like we did right here, right now. That's it. You know what I mean? That's what it's about, and that's what keeps us coming back for sure.
And
Brad,
that's the core of the event.
Yeah,
that really is the heart and soul right there.
Yes, sir. And in no particular order, Brad, you yourself, let alone your peers, of course, that you work with, professional, transparent, respected. I wrote all this down so I didn't forget, and definitely admired for everything you do, everything you've accomplished. You're somebody to look up to for sure. That's coming from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for having, you know what I mean, being a shining example for us. I mean, we got our own little things going on, but we watch you guys, excuse me, grow. And that's, kind of where we aspire to be. So thank you just for being yourself, man. We appreciate it. Okay. For sure. And speaking of growing forever, paranormal folks, the MI Paracon, the WrestleMania Paracons, I'm never going to get sick of saying that. That's an event. If you can't ever get to any other event that's paranormal related, if you get a couple dollars for a ticket, a couple dollars to get on a bus, get out to the MI Paracon in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, miparacon.com. Thank you again to Brad Blair, author of his latest book, Paranormal Justice, available on Amazon. Way to go, Brad. We're so proud of you for that. That's a milestone in itself for you. So way to go. Now, TPV Nation, the creeps, the freaks, the weirdos, from day one to day now. We don't get to do what we do, and that's this right here, right now. Also, get out to the MI Paracon events. We don't get to do that without all of you believing in us. So thank you for that. We will see you all on the other side, of course. But in the meantime and in between time, happy hauntings.
Happy hauntings.
Cheers.